Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. This is going to be a video, it's going to be pretty long, about me setting up the demo that I do at Past Summit. I want to create all the objects, all the things that we need to successfully run what I went through at Past. So let's start up by creating a resource group. We've already done that. I think if we refresh here. I created a Past Summit 2018. This is where we're going to just keep all the artifacts. You can separate it out in Dev QA. We're gonna create all the Dev QA things in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add first things first, a SQL database. So when you create a SQL server, a SQL Azure database, you actually create a logical server first. So we can either do that or we can do the database. And then it'll automatically go through and create the server for us. The thing about this is that we want to actually create a database that has the ability to pass dev db. So we're going to give it that name. We're gonna keep it in that same group. But what we want to do is actually do the sample database. That's what I was saying. I'll say at Past Summit that I use the AdventureWorks LT data to pull from SQL Server to ADLS dynamically. So the thing that you want to select that when you create this. We're going to go ahead and create a new server. We're going to call it pass dev SQL DB or SQL. Give it a name. Give it a pass. I give it a username. Give it a password. Keep it in East US for now. But nothing crazy here. So that'll be created. I like to prefer go to the lowest because whatever you can afford, you can do. But I mean, right now this is really just very minimal, right? So I mean, we can even do basic if we really wanted to. I mean, we'll just do this because we're gonna I'll probably end up deleting it afterwards anyways because I usually do a bunch of different things, creation and so you can do creation scripts to it, deploy stuff. So while that's going on, we could probably it'll do it right there. We'll go back into that resource group, and we can create. We can do other things while we're waiting. Let's add the data factory. We are going to work in version 2. What I like to do is kind of give it, the same kind of naming standard. We'll see if we can, if that's available. I might have that in my other demo. So, not available. Okay. So we do that East US. One thing we're going to do a little bit later is set up for the actual evaluation, and I don't think this subscription is set up for it. It's in private preview, so I'll do a little video on doing the data flow as well. And that'll be one of the demo videos that I have available. We're probably going to get to it at Past Summit. We'll only have so much time. So I'm going to go ahead and create this pass dev ADF v2. So this will just create the data factory. It won't have any pipelines, link services, data sets in it. So we can dismiss all this. We can go in here and we can just keep creating our artifacts. So if we come in here, we don't want to do anything with that yet. We just want to focus on adding all the content that we're going to need. Let's go ahead and add the data lake store. Can't wait till they get generation 2 and then out of into GA. So let's see, what do we gotta go pass? Dev, ADL, pass. And then it's already taken, so I think I'd use it in let's go for the demo purposes. Oh, you know what? You can't use hyphens. Something, right? ADLS. US, we don't have East US, we have East US 2, so we're going to create as you go. That's one thing to realize, when you're creating resources, you have a limited, so that's the thing about generation 2, right? It's the best of both Azure Blob and file-based. Azure Data Lake Store is file-based, and it only allows for you to create it in a certain regions. So that's kind of a thing to think about. And Generation 2 allows you to do multiple regions, right? That's the cool thing about that, right? Because Generation 2 is built on top of Azure Blob and both file-based, object-based. So looks like this is, a couple things have been created. Trying to think about anything else, let's see, is that database yet there? So you really need to come in here and if you're working on your computer, you also need to add yourself to get through the firewall. You have all these security things that you need to do. So we're going to go add my IP so I can hit that when we log into SSMS, right? So yeah, let's turn SSMS on. Why not? Let's see if we can go to the resource. Everything's like it's fairly going pretty quick here. So come back in here. There we go, got the DB up and running. Okay, so we've got all that stuff. That's cool. So maybe it'll SSMS is taking its time. I do have 32 gig on this machine. I don't know what the problem is. So maybe we just need to go to ADF. ADF, the quickest way, if you haven't understood, is to type in adf.azure.com. This will give you where you're logged in, depending on what person. So if we go Udesic and I go to my professional, we'll see that right there, right? See, you can, so this is going to be great when we get to doing the QA and prod, right? We'll be able to go in here and click on a new window and go to QA and then click on a new window and go to prod. We utilize that a lot at the clients that we've worked with. So really, really cool feature allowing us to do that. So yeah, from the demo, what I had done is I gave everybody the ARM template. And really, you really just want to be able to import it, right? So the basis of this is the flexibility to be able to just take a template and import it. We'll see if we can do that. See if we don't have any problems. Yeah, and okay. Build your template editor. Look at all this money I have. So, it depends on who you are, I guess. Let's go ahead and do ARM template. Depending on how much money you get, right? Depends on who you are, right? So you got to remember you're always spending money, which is, the curse in itself when you're in the cloud. So the thing about ADF is if you're not using pipelines, they charge you 40 cents a month. The only thing you got to really worry about is if you're going to move data, right? And so if you're spending and spending time, you got to calculate how long things take. So make sure you're aware of that. So we'll see if this pumps out and pushes, overwrites the current ADF. Why that's doing that? SSMS did come up. So I have a bunch of them. What did I call it again? I called it pass dev SQL. We might have to go and get, that's probably good to show you that. Go ahead and show where you get that, the connection string. Come in here. If you go to this. In order to get to connection string, you do got to go to database, I think, right? And you go to the database, and the connection string should be server that you connect to is right here. Connection strings, you can actually show the connection strings. We're going to need that later anyways, right? Because we want to use that connection string in Key Vault. So admin login, let's go ahead and do that standard password. Login failed. Maybe I have a caps on. Admin log. Oh, see, I did the. See, I spelled login wrong the time before, and it saved it that way. You know, that's what happens around here. It's gonna work. All hunky dory. Let's go in here. Let's see what we have for database. Come in here. You have your tables. So yeah, these are the standard tables that you do get when you have the. And these are the ones that we're going to pull. But we do need to add the the they're not the framework because we didn't give the whole framework that I work with now with my company. But it is a table that's flattened to in order to us to be able to loop through things and work with metadata. So what I'm going to do is actually install that. So I mean the recent files. If I go or open file, let's go deploy script. Let's see what's in there. So of course I didn't name it the exact same, so I'm going to go ahead and mess with this. SQL past dev SQL past dev DB. Okay, there we go. So we're going to create a schema, and then we're going to create a table where we do store a lot of the good information, and then we create all the store procedures. So we go ahead and run this. This will set us up for. I didn't save this correctly. Let's do that. Of course, all my testing. Leave all my testing values. Everything. Okay, so I think we're good. I think we refresh this. And then we look at the store procedures. We should have at least 1, 2, 4, 3. Okay, so what are we missing? We're missing USB sync loop, USB set, sync checkpoint, USB reset, group, get sync. That one. Oh, I just had that in there. Let's save this. This is what I'm going to give to the pass people because this will work now. Can actually check that. Okay. So these are the store procedures. These are the tables. So we have the table, but we don't have it populated, right? So now we need to run the hydration of that. Is this the ability to query and run against those store procedures? So let's go ahead and hydrate. So there's nothing to delete. If we come in here, so the first things first is the sync name. We're going to go through, you go through that in the demo, and we can demo that just to make sure it's working after we deploy. So if we come in here, let's make sure. So we got everything set up as far as what we want for hydration wise. Double check. So what I like to do is actually check the store procedures and run them. So for instance, the sync name, the sync group one. So we're going to do dimensions and facts. We're going to have 2 separate groupings. And you'll see that in the past demo. Oh, that's reset. This gets the result set, and it's the syncs we're most interested in. If we come here and get the certain sync values, we're going to pass in to the copy syncs. So this is what we're trying to get to now that we have that all set up. See, I did it again. So no SQL, because that's standard stuff right there. So I mean, you know, if you find yourself in trouble, you just figure it out, right? That's the way I say. So you need at least know standard SQL to be able to run these. So we have that. Did we end up getting that? Let's see, it failed. Let's see what we got in here. See if it deployed anything. So, try it again. What did we fail on? Before we go anywhere. Not found. Parent resource not found. Pass dev ADF. Oh. We need V2. See, even I make mistakes. Let's get the name of it. So it has to be there if you import it, I guess. It won't create it for you. That was a test. That was a test. You guys failed. You're supposed to remind me that you know that we had to do it that way. So let's go ADF v2. There we go. So this is where you can send different values. I mean, if it was a different, you know, this right here, that's one thing. We're going to change that anyways when we get in there. Something I didn't create is a key vault. I'll go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and create a key vault as well. Go add that. Pass so vaults. So pass dev vault. Oh. Standard tier. How expensive is that? Oh, that's good. We'll select it. So we'll add another principal because we actually need to add a principal. We might be able to manage instances, things. Managed principal. So a lot of the services use principal ID, so service principal. That gives you a user to connect to the certain resources like Azure Data Lake Store. That work? Well, you know what? I guess when you read the errors, it may happen where it actually works. So that is really how you're going to do QA and prod. I mean, that's probably what we should do right now, right? For at least the yeah. I mean, that's how you do it for the ADF versions. Might as well since we're on a roll, but you know, I mean, So we got everything there. Um, okay, so we have the database set up, right? And we have everything within the database to make everything execute within the pipelines because we have the stored procedures, we have the table all set up. Um, so those are the main components of making that run. I would create like just a query that that you run to get the information right. So like I always call it the checklist myself, but we don't want to reset. Resetting actually sets the looping again. So let's see. We come in here and we go sync. Okay, so in kind of a review, because if you do want to get things working, you got to come back in here. It's not going to be automatic, right? It's not going to this is not going to automatically connect. You're going to have to create an integration runtime. Well, you don't have to create it. You have an auto, but I mean, you're going to have to make the connections, right? So if you come in here, you're going to have to reconnect this because it's going to be a different database. Um, it's going to be a different everything. So one thing, and this goes back to getting the connection string, we might as well connect Azure Key Vault because we already have it set up. So um, how did we get the connection string? If we come back here, I guess under the database. I should have copied and pasted when I went there. So I'm gonna just copy this. I just usually use Notepad. You're gonna need your username and password, and I'm gonna show you my password. Oh no, it's secret, man. Third person, you really got to be really into it. So this will connect to that database, and that's what we want to do, right? We want to end up using that, and so we can set up Key Vault to store that because it has sensitive information, like a password. You can separate it out if you really wanted to, but the best way to handle this, especially with this dev QA and prod environment, and we'll get to that. Um, you want to do it this way because it makes it easier to work with. We found that in the implementations that we've done so far. So you go to secrets. You generate a new secret. You give it a name, and I give it a pass SQL DB, and then we give it the value, right? So the value was uh, that connection string. So if we go ahead and do that. Now, the thing is, in order to set this up and allow it to be successfully connect, you actually need to add, because right now the key vault isn't set up. So we actually need to add the ADF. It has its own kind of principal ID connected to it. So if we need to add this to the access parameters, and so things kind of really you need to find that principal, and it should come up. Yeah, see. So now you have that. Select it. Make sure that it's valid. I think you just need get and list. We'll make sure that that's it because you want to just give it as little as possible because you're not going to be changing them from there, but you're just working with secrets as well. So this is where you would add more people if you really wanted to add people to be able to access these, right? Um, don't forget to save. That's the hugest thing that some not saying that I do it. I just almost did it right there, right? So we do need the secret name. So we need that. And now this will be a part of adding value to it. So got to do that. Let's put this down here. Secret name. The the actual location. Copy that. Need that. Okay, so there's that. Let's go ahead and test. Since we gave access, it should work. So now it's connected. So this is the first way to use Azure Key Vault, right? There's going to be another way as well within the continuous integration, the release cycle. So we'll take a look at that when we get to it. But let's go ahead and publish. Let's go ahead and publish that change already, which goes directly to your SQL, your Azure data factory. So come back here now that we have it set up, Azure Key Vault. The secret name, what did I give? I saved it. That's what I was. Past SQL DB. So what you're going to do then, we're going to do SQL authentication. Okay, so this is the link source for the SQL database. Let's go and test it. Successful. So now we are connected to Azure Key Vault through that, which is really important, right? It gives us that safety, and we don't have to embed the password here, and we have it, and it can be updated fairly quickly, and you have a history of that password as well. Okay, so that's done. Let's go ahead and add. Let's see what we can do here. So this is the data lake store, right? So there's a couple different things, and this has changed over time. So if we go back here, data lake store, and we look at this and we say, okay, we need to give access to this, and we can look and try to do ADF as well, I think. Let's see. ADF. We don't want to look at that. Okay, we want to copy this. Because you know what, I think we're not going to work with service principals. You can read the white pages on them. We can add them. If we're doing the push from ADLS to SQL Data Warehouse, I think we need it. So I'm just going to give it all the parameters that we would need. I think we're gonna end up executing, reading, writing, doing everything within this folder structure. So I want to give that ability. So I've given that ability. There are no folders. What happens when a folder would be created? It'll add that access to it, and then you'll be able to come in here. I have access as well. So now let's go ahead and go back. And we got to find the actual connection string, or maybe we just want to like things. Let's see. Data lake store. Paste that. Subscription. That's not the subscription. Why don't we do this? See, I find new things as I get, not new things, but just why not just use it that way? So now that I've said, okay, so this is kind of different than, I think they just kind of were adding managed service instances before. So it was originally, you just had to use service principal, I believe. And now that you've done managed service instance, that means what I just did, I added this service identity application ID, which is my ADF ID. And that's what you just saw, right? I typed in the name of my data factory, and it related it to that. So we have access to that, and I've given access to that ADLS and all the folders. So you can manage that however you want. That's how we're doing it for the demo, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give access. So we have, wow, we have ADLS, we have Key Vault. Man, we're just rocking SQL database. I might be able to end this portion of the setup demo fairly quickly. So let's go ahead and test it. Let's make sure that it works, right? So in order to do that, we can just run one sync, right? We can run one example, and I think we had done that before. So if we go like this, we look at the sales as we want to know what. This goes back to setting up everything on our checklist. So this is what will be passed in, right? So it'll do source value, and sync value. And when you go through the demo, the past demo, I kind of explained it more, but it's you can do a select statement against a dynamic data set, and you can do a raw folder path within the dynamic data set. So that's what we're going to run. We're going to test that out to make sure that it's set up. We're not doing any variables. Our result set, so that'll be passed in there. Our result set will go to this copy activity, and that will be that source value, and then the sync value will then go into the dynamic data lake. So I mean, it's probably actually, well, I mean, we could test it. It's good to come in here and test. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, right? So if you come in here, let's go in and just test, right? Let's just make sure that those link services are making connections. It's always good. That's best practice. But what's going to happen here is you're going to have a warning on the data lake because we actually pass in the value to the data lake data set, and it's out of scope, right, for this activity that we when we actually grabbed it before we put it to the SQL source. This is within the scope. That's why it's not a warning, but in the data set it is out of scope. So that's kind of just something that we've done. So if we go ahead and trigger it, this will run it. And so what should happen is when we go to the data lake, we should start seeing folders up here. Hopefully, if it doesn't fail. If it fails, then we've got a good, test. Probably will. Never know. It does take 17 seconds usually to run just a query, just a stored procedure. I've never been able to optimize that. So it's right. It is look like it's trying to work. So this is the activity monitor. I'm quickly going through because I go through the past demo. But this shows you the source to target. It looks like it succeeded. So let's go dismiss it. There's that. Come back out here. We ran it successfully with the value cells on the address. So we come back here. Go ahead and how we refresh this. Well, maybe it didn't write it out. Maybe it pretended that it wrote it out. There we go. First time right now, it takes a little while. So here, yeah, so that folder that we had put in that as that value, it wrote it out. Since we didn't give it a name, it actually gives it a unique identifier to identify this. So if you want to overwrite a file, you would put something in that name, right? If we just did test.json in here, that would do that. So it looks like we've set up everything. Let's go ahead and see if the full gambit will run. This will do the looping. So if we wanted to make sure that this is running, we go to the parameters at the pipeline level, same group. So come in here. So we're focused on this. Don't worry about these. They're just extra values in case we want to work with that outside of the within the looping structure. So we're just going to focus on these. This is what's going to be piped into that that for each. So if we go in here, it'll go through the for each and then call that one we just did, but with all those values. So we actually will get probably duplicates in the if it's address as dimension. So we'll probably get duplicates in the dimension. Oh, sorry, we're two. So duplicates meaning that it'll probably add another file in here, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. Going back to the activity monitor, you can dive in. So the thing is, this time we're actually calling a master and child package. So after we get the result set, the array that we're going to pass in, we're going to execute copy sync in parallel, right? We can actually rerun this, and we'll run it sequential, but it'll take a lot longer, right? So maybe, well, no, tons longer, yes. Depends on your needs, right? So the for each loop is calling that pipeline multiple times, right? And so if you really want to dive into each one, you have to get out of the copy sync loop call, and you come back out to the main monitor if you want to dive into one and you kind of want to know which one, because since it's dynamic, the pipeline names can have the same name. But if you want to look at the parameters, and this is, oh, this is customer, yeah, I want to look at, I want to actually dive in and see, customers are done. Most of them are gonna, yeah. So all of them are done, but you can see, like we had seen before, right, the throughput as it's actually going without before it's succeeding. So don't worry. In my other demo of running very large copy syncs, we will dive more into that. So that was successful. If we go in here, we should have there we go. See, so I have that. So we have all the things that we wanted to run. We have successfully set up the demo and run it. In my next in the next video, it'll be more about setting up and doing more with the continuous integration portion. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you watch my other videos. Talk to you later. Bye.